Hey guys, Suro and Disney here, and we are on location. We are on location at B-Dubs. Why? Because that's just where we are right now. So this video is going up on Saturday because obviously we don't have a special Oscar video or Oscar prediction video to come out. So needless to say, I am doing this today. AJ watched a lot of movies. How many do we have? 18 films while I was gone. So, yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. AJ is going to be discussing the 18 films that he watched while I was gone. Now, the funny thing about this is, I know a lot of you out there are wanting to see these type of reviews, like, is it good, is it bad, 5 minutes, done the party, short attention span theater. Nope. Sorry, we're not going to that. As a matter of fact, the video that went up yesterday, as in Friday, since it's tomorrow, since it's Thursday today, wrap your head around that one, basically, we did the normalcy. So we had, you can check that video out on the Pop playlist, or I guess you won't be able to put it on the Pop playlist, it's on the recent videos, so check that out. I'll change everything in the playlist soon. We're having some issues with that, but I'll take care of it soon. But since I've had an over-minute intro, apparently, we're going to flip over to AJ, and AJ is going to discuss the 18 films he watched while I was gone. So AJ, take it away, sir. And let me know if it looks wrong.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, cool.
We're going to start with the East, which has a history.
Yeah, you finally get to see it.
We've gone into it before, so I'll just go right into Britt Marling is hired by Patricia Clarkson to look for this, would you call them terrorists?
I'd say they would. Some people would call them terrorists, but they might be a little bit more for the greater good than actual terrorists.
They get revenge on people that do things that are in charge, that are things that are bad for the environment, to put it.
It's like Norm Macdonald from Dirty Work, but environment.
More or less. Yeah. And that's the East, which is run by Alexander Skarsgård and his little gang that has like Ellen Page and Shiloh Fernandez and all of them.
Talk about its history, AJ.
Did we go into that once?
I think we might have, but give them a little refresher.
Well, we went to Athens.
Yep.
And we saw this in a theater for half an hour.
Yep.
And then their digital projector shit itself.
Yes. Yes, it did.
And they couldn't get it.
Nope.
Right. So at least we got to see Kings of Summer for like free.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And 2 other movies when we went back.
Correct.
Free concession, all of it. And then we went back again. Still fucked up.
Yep.
Gave us more free tickets, and we went on our way.
We were sitting pretty in Athens for quite a while.
But they eventually just lost it before they got the projector fixed, so we never saw it there.
Nope.
So I finally saw it, and it's okay. It's from the director of Sound of My Voice, which Britt Marling was in last year. I don't know how to say the director's name, but he's well known because the actual word Batman is in his name. I don't know how to pronounce it, though.
Well, just call him Batman.
It's like the Nimrod guy that did Predators and Vacancy.
Yeah, okay.
But it's like, it tries to be this important thriller with a message, but it comes off as kind of like, I don't really know how to describe it, but it basically comes off like one of those movies that like, something that like a 12 or 13-year-old would make and would feel excited about, and something,
Okay.
not in all cases, just in particular little scenes that come to mind.
Sounds good.
But then there's this really great scene with like Ellen Page and her dad and all that, and you know, it sometimes leads to tragedy and all that. And there's some scenes that are just totally fucking pointless, but they're just put in there like, all right, I'll do this quickly. I guess I'll pick one thing. To infiltrate the East undercover, Patricia Clarkson gives Britt Marling these sandals.
Okay.
Now, of course, and she's going to wear them and roam around, but the trouble is she has to look like she's been roaming around. So they go through this whole scene. We don't just see her like wearing them down to make them look like she's been, you know, wandering.
Yeah, of course.
We have a whole scene of her going into the kitchen, digging through the dishwasher, finding a potato peeler, and carving into the sandals.
Wow.
And then about 5 minutes after she's out doing what she needs to do, she gets rid of the sandals.
That sounds like a whole Lots pointless.
Yeah, this movie was a clear-cut hour and a half stretch to 2 hours for sure.
Ooh.
But it's really not bad. The performances are good and all that. And I think Bria Marling has her fan base, but I think she's kind of like bland. But I'm sure eventually she'll do something to really got there. That's not going to happen yet, or probably anytime soon.
Okay.
She also wrote it with the guy, so they're like, he's kind of the director of this is kind of like Wes Anderson, and she's his Owen Wilson.
That's interesting.
The star and the co-writer.
Interesting way to put it too.
So that's that. The next one is Blue Caprice, which was really disappointing. It's basically it's a character study of the guys like the DC snipers. I think they were. But instead of I suppose you can give it points for this. Instead of doing the predictable thing of like trying to recreate history as much as possible and realistically, it's about them as people and how they met and like how he took him in as like a father figure and all that. But it's really, really agonizingly boring, unfortunately.
The setup reminds me kind of like, not the story, but it kind of sounds a little bit like Fruitvale. The way Fruitvale came off. It was a real story that they told a different version of it.
A little bit. And then, of course, I think everything in Fruitvale, almost everything in Fruitvale, except for the dog scenes, based on fact.
Yes.
Whereas I think this is like just them kind of. This could have been how they
okay.
went about. They meet the one shining part of the movie is Tim Blake Nelson, who is the guy that basically supplies them with like weapons, but not maliciously. They just do that their own way.
He's Nick Cage and Lord of War.
Isaiah Washington's good too. There's no racial slurs no gay slurs are dropped in this movie. So there's that. But yeah, this could have been a really interesting movie.
It kind of fell flat.
I just could not get into it at all.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. You might have heard about this next one at TIFF. It somehow got online, but I don't think many people know that because I haven't really heard many people talking about it. And I'm pretty sure if this movie gets out, people will be talking. Of course, it gets quieter in here.
I was getting ready to mention that.
This is a movie from South Korea.
Now it makes sense why it's extreme.
Well, it's the same guy that did Pieta last year. That movie was fucking extreme, too. But this takes extreme to a whole new level. This is a movie called Mobius. And it's about a family of 3. It's a father, a mother, their teenage son, and the husband's lover. The weird thing, I don't know why they did this. I'm sure there's some kind of artistic reason. The mother and the lover are played by the same actors. But
interesting.
So the plot is... seriously, I can't believe I'm talking about Mobius in a public place. Okay.
It's all for pop, folks.
The mother finds out that the father's been cheating. So she grabs a knife that they keep under like a statue, I guess for protection or something. Like when most people keep guns in their house.
Yeah.
She goes into the father's room and tries to cut his dick off.
Okay.
But he wakes up and pushes her away. So I guess to get revenge in some way, she goes into the teenage son's room and cuts his dick off while he's sleeping. And the dad comes in, ready to take him to the hospital and call the cops on her. But so they can't go to the hospital and put it back on him, she sticks it in her mouth and eats it.
Wow.
And then just kind of runs off while they go to the hospital. So then the movie proceeds, and he's basically bullied because they find out that he doesn't have a dick. So the dad starts looking into a transplant. The dad is basically going to give his dick to his son.
So in essence, she did get rid of the problem.
But in
a roundabout way.
But in the meantime, the son is in jail because he gang raped the lover. Now, of course, obviously he can't, but he's trying to hide the fact from everybody. But since he was there for the rape, he gets arrested too and thrown in jail. But the thing is, obviously, is that he can't get off.
Yeah.
But the dad the dad feels guilty, obviously, because this is all steps back to him having an affair. There's people behind us leave. They probably heard me talking about movies. Okay, I'll be a little more open. The dad researches and finds a way that apparently if you like have enough sensation, you can climax without the particular parts.
Okay.
If you have enough of a different sensation. The sensation, of course, is pain. So the thing they do is they take rocks and they scrape the skin on their hands and feet away for pain, but it manages after a while to make them.
Wow.
And the story goes from there. It's wild, and you've probably never seen a story like this in your life, and you probably never will again. And this is something only this director can do. This director is hardcore. He did another movie that I liked. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head.
Is it sadomasochistic? Is that what it is?
I guess because if you have no other choice.
You called it a revenge movie?
I don't know what exactly you call this, but it's I don't want to spoil anything in the climax, but there's a big climax, no pun intended, that it gets even wilder. You just have to see this to believe it.
We'll have a discussion off camera.
But in all honesty, I would actually recommend it if you can stomach it, because it actually is. It's a good story. It's just a really, really fucked up one, and you don't know what direction it's gonna go in.
Okay.
So yeah, I very, very cautiously check that out if you desire. If you think it might not be your cup of tea, chances are it's fucking not.
Just throw that right on the table right there.
The next one's a nice movie that was at TIFF last year called Stuck in... It was originally called Writers, but now it's just called Stuck in Love. It's Greg Kinnear and Jennifer Connelly and Logan Lerman and Lily Collins.
Nice.
That's just some of the cast. There are a couple of other... It's just different, you know, like... Greg Kinnear and Jennifer Connelly are divorced, but he's still, you know, he's still really beaten up about it. He has like, he has a friends with benefits situation with Kristen Bell, and Jennifer Connelly's remarried already, but he just cannot get over it. And like he's like every time they have a big dinner, like at Thanksgiving or Christmas, he actually has a place set for Jennifer Connelly in case she comes back. And then there's the little story with Lily Collins and Logan Lerman. Lily Collins is the woman the girl that, you know, just wants to have fun, doesn't believe in love or serious relationships. Logan Lerman does, and so on. They also have another son, and he has a love story as well with what's her name from Trust that I don't like.
Okay.
Leanna Liberato, I think it is.
Yes.
Most people didn't like it, but it's a nice, sweet story, and you can care about the people. I mean, sometimes they don't make the right decisions. Like, Greg Kinnear's character might come off really creepy because there are times where he tends to spy on Jennifer Connelly through the window. I mean,
wow.
Doesn't make him sympathetic, but, you know, still, they bring enough genuine sweetness to their characters in the story to do it. To make it, you know, coarse.
They're gonna really love life in about 5 minutes.
No, I don't have any more movies like Mobius on the list, unfortunately. So, anyway, and there's a very interesting part at the end,
Okay.
where the other son has his hero is Stephen King,
Nice.
and Lily Collins sends his story to Stephen King, and he gets a call from Stephen King. And it's really Stephen King playing the part over the phone.
That's awesome.
So that was awesome.
Indeed.
Because I remember I heard about it at TIFF, because it was kind of controversial. So you're like, Stephen King's actually in this movie? But that's how they handled it. So the fact that he was in it at all, even his voice, is actually kind of awesome. The next movie is not as good. In fact, not at all. It's a movie called C.O.G.
Please tell me it stands for something.
Child of God. Which coincidentally is a movie that James Franco had at TIFF as well. That's totally different. This movie is this Jesse Eisenberg wannabe. I don't know the guy's name. But he's one of those people. He basically plays it like Jesse Eisenberg. He thinks he's smarter than everybody and all that, and he has his philosophies, and all his philosophies are right, etc. So he goes to work at this apple orchard for some reason, and basically gets taught a lesson in more ways than one, I guess, about how maybe he may not be as right as he thinks he is all the time. And there he meets Corey Stoll, and he's an interesting character, and that goes in a direction you might not be thinking. And then there's a second part to the movie where he falls in with Dennis O'Hare, who was he was the burn guy in the first season of American Horror Story. And he's like this massive religious freak.
Okay.
And he falls in with him, and he basically tries to find God and all that. But that goes in a weird direction too, and he ends up being a very unpleasant character. This whole movie is just unpleasant in a lot of ways.
So the title is very ironic.
I guess. But I'm not a fan of it.
Okay.
I mean, there were a couple of moments there where it's like maybe if they went with this, and it's always good to see Corey Stoll getting more work.
Oh yeah, because he's awesome.
I haven't watched House of Cards yet, but I'll get to that.
You have some time.
All right, you get just Tommy Boy, just you know what I mean. The next one is The Grandmaster.
Okay. First off, this movie was supposed to be reviewed on this channel months ago. We have talked about reviewing this movie for at least 2 months, probably longer. So AJ, what do you have to say about The Grandmaster?
I'm sorry, Internet. This director, Wong Kar-wai, I think is how you say it. I don't know if I'm saying it right or not. And sometimes,
I know.
depending on where you are, names can be reversed or whatever.
That's correct.
I'm not sure how that works exactly, but because I'm so uncultured. I think this guy is so incredibly, horrifically overrated. Ooh. I haven't even seen In the Mood for Love yet, but I saw like 2046, and I can't even remember the other movies he did. I know I saw them, but I cannot get into his movies, and I really don't see what the huge deal is with them. And this is no exception. I found it a little weird that he would do a movie like this, though, because most of his movies are like thought-provoking and romantic and stuff like that. This is played up as an action. It's got the action and fighting scenes in it, but it's not really like that. It's more of a biography that I'm pretty sure took a lot of liberties, if I had to guess. But it's just, the fight scenes are okay, but as far as, being a biography and making this character interesting and the people around him interesting, I was on and off for a while. Like, some of it's interesting, then it gets uninteresting, then it comes back. It was way too inconsistent. And no, I'm not one of those people saying I only like the fight scenes. That's not the case, because some of the fight scenes are redundant. Go on for a while, but it's a lot more stylized than these other movies for sure, but I just couldn't fully get into it.
So that's the one Batista's in?
No.
He was in a movie like that, though.
Man with the Iron Fist.
I thought he was in The Grandmaster. I guess not.
No, the only two people in this are the go-to people. The guy that was in Infernal Affairs and the woman that was in Crouching Tiger.
Okay. Pardon me, guys. I'm a little bit verklempt right now. We'll go with that word.
The next one is Arthur Newman, which is a British. I don't know if it's I guess you could say it's kind of a comedy.
It sounds like a comedy with the title.
It stars Colin Firth and Emily Blunt.
How British is this movie?
Colin Firth basically hates his life. He has a son that doesn't care for him, and he has a girlfriend. Who is his girlfriend? Anne Heche. Yes, it was Anne Heche.
Wow.
But things just weren't going well. So he decided to more or less fake his death. And then he meets Emily Blunt, who's like this former drug addict, and her life's in the shitter. She's basically homeless. So they basically build this. It's like a friendship that's slowly built into a romance. Mm-hmm. And the romance part is even iffy because they don't really. It takes a while for that to go into. But basically, because they hate their lives so much, they go around this isn't as freaky as it sounds. It sounds like a sort of a thriller, but it's more of a comedic, romantic thing. They find two people, and then they follow them around, and they basically break into their houses and live there and impersonate those people.
That sounds fun.
kind of like a role play thing.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
But then it starts to get more dramatic as it goes on. Like, you know, she starts to figure out he's not who he says he is and all that. There's kind of a twist later. This always happens to me.
I know it does.
Why? Alright, so,
Would you rather my situation right now or yours? Exactly.
So the next one is another... this is another one I went back and forth on. It's called As Cool As I Am. It's I can't remember. The girl in it is one of the sisters from in America.
Oh God.
But the main star is Claire Danes and Marsden.
Which one?
What do you mean?
There's a Jason Marsden too.
James. The only Marsden that matters.
Well, you never know. It's an indie movie. It's possible.
I don't even remember the last movie I saw Jason in.
Wasn't that Return to the Batcave?
So, it's another coming-of-age movie. Just like, there was a movie just like it last year. It reminded me of Girl in Progress, a movie with Eva Mendes and Matthew Modine from last year. Basically, Claire Danes is cheating on Marsden. They're married, but Marsden's always off working, and she's always off cheating. And they seem to have this happy marriage, but actually they just... There's a lot of things going on that are wrong. And she's, you know, falling in love with this guy, but then changing her mind and doing other things. It's just another one of those coming-of-age movies, that's it. There's really nothing new to provide, but it's harmless. There's this random-ass cameo in the last 2 minutes by Peter Fonda.
What?
Yeah, it's like the, he's in this about as much as he's in Wild Hogs. Maybe more in Wild Hogs.
Ooh.
Hey, Wild Hogs isn't bad. It's a guilty pleasure of mine.
Just don't talk about old dogs. That's what's garbage.
The next one is an interesting movie. A very funny movie. Just a very interesting movie with a very interesting casting choice. Because this man's all about interesting casting choices this year.
Okay.
This is C.O.G. About
I heard about this. Yeah, the CBGB.
The guy that started the club is played by Alan Rickman.
I really want to see this movie.
There's a lot. I wish I had a cast list on me. There's a lot of people in this movie. Donald Logue, Bradley Whitford, Rupert Grint, Joel David Moore is the guy in the Ramones. Who's the fucking lead singer of the Ramones? I can't remember his name now. His first name, obviously.
Joey.
Yes.
Joey Ramone.
Yes. Joel David Moore from Grandma's Boy.
That's interesting.
Yeah, people just show up in this movie left and right.
Like 54?
It does have a 54 feel, yeah.
Because when I heard about the movie, I thought it sounded a lot like 54.
But instead of Mike Myers, we get Alan Rickman.
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, it's I'm losing my concentration. I feel like Jack Lawrence right now. You're breaking my concentration. You're distracted. It's
That's what we do when we're on location, folks.
But yeah, it's I track it down. It's entertaining and informative. I don't know how much of it's true. I'd say a fair bit because it's one of those ones where we actually see the real guy that Alan Rickman's playing at the end and all that shit. Because they always do that.
So it's a movie, not a documentary.
Yeah.
Okay.
The next is an interesting movie called Scenic Route, which is basically another one of those isolation movies, like Gravity and 127 Hours, all of those. It's Josh Duhamel and Dan Fogler as best friends whose truck break down in the middle of the desert on a road that practically nobody is on. It's also Jerry. Jerry is exactly what this movie is. The Gus Van Sant movie with Casey Affleck and Matt Damon.
Yeah.
That's what this movie is.
Interesting.
And it is very interesting to watch it progress because they do have like a genuine friendship thing going on there, and you can really feel it. It's good. which is really interesting because two of them come like Josh Duhamel's known for being the handsome lead in romantic comedies. Dan Floger's known for being the dopey sidekick in romantic comedies. And they're in this really hostile environment of isolation. At one point, they actually Josh Duhamel's character has a fascination with Travis Bickle and always wanted a mohawk. So they actually give him this makeshift, fucked up mohawk, and he actually has it for the rest of obviously he has it for the rest of the movie.
God.
And it gets wild because they see, you know, like truths from the past start coming out and true feelings start coming out, and they start getting hostile towards each other. And the only big complaint I have is the ending.
Okay. We're not going to spoiler territory, so what will you tell us about it?
It's kind of think 1408, and I'll stop.
I will in a couple weeks. Oops.
That's
or will I?
It's an ambiguous ending, kind of, but it is. That's all I can say, I guess.
Okay, right on.
The next movie has a billion different titles, but I think the proper one now is A Door.
Okay.
It went to Sundance under the name Two Mothers. Then it was like released under like Perfect Mothers or something. And then there was like another title. Now it's A Door. Not a door. A door, like they adore them.
That's what you feel like you've been hit by after you watch it.
Yeah, well here's the thing. I didn't know how to take it because I actually started hearing positive word when people started seeing it online. But you know, there are people online.
Yeah, people online watching movies, they're pretty,
The reason it was infamous at Sundance was because apparently the entire screening was getting laughed at.
Ooh, that's not good.
That I can actually believe more. You have Robin Wright and Naomi Watts, who are best friends.
Okay.
One of them is married to Ben Mendelsohn, or was married to Ben Mendelsohn, I can't remember which. But anyway, and he comes in later. Here and there. It's always nice to see Ben Mendelsohn, that's the point.
Yeah.
Obviously they both have sons. And they fall, complications rise when they fall for each other's sons. Hilarity ensues for all the wrong reasons.
Oh boy.
This movie is so fucking dumb. I can't even express it fully. Ender's Game TV spot.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about A Door. Just,
Really?
it's about as smart as A Door. That's what I think is.
Wow.
That was what I would make the tag. That was a horrible joke, but oh well.
That's the tagline. It was a horrible joke.
That's the kind of mood this movie is. Yes, this movie itself was a horrible joke. Why would you do this, Naomi Watts? I know Diana.
Nice.
The next one isn't as. The next one is not a step above. It's a movie from Sundance last year called And While We Were Here. It stars Kate Bosworth, who got a lot of acclaim for it apparently. I don't know why. I'm not a fan of hers. Basically, it's one of those movies where you have the husband and wife who go on vacation, and the wife becomes friends with a younger guy, and spends the whole movie wondering if she's going to have an affair. And it takes every single path we've seen before, and every single direction we've seen before, and offers absolutely nothing new to this genre whatsoever, except to be boring and redundant and the movie is boring and redundant at 83 minutes. That's an hour and 23 minutes.
That's bad.
It has nice sets. It is nice to look at.
The old Kelly Miller excuse. Find something about the movie that's good. Find something good about Cabin Fever. That's nice sets.
Oh, Cabin Fever's great.
I never really got into it.
Alright, the next movie is another one that I have to say I'm sorry, Internet, to. Because this is a movie everybody loves right now. And apparently it's like one of the front runners for the foreign movie Oscar.
Oh,
foreign film. You say foreign film when you're talking about the Oscar category. When you say feature when you're talking about animated, it's a whole ruling.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm talking about The Hunt. The movie that Mads Mikkelsen won Best Actor for a Cannes last year.
Wow.
People love this movie.
Why?
I don't know. Ask them.
Apparently you have no reason.
Ask the people that love it. I don't.
I don't want to talk to those people, I have a feeling.
Well, listen, see, I thought I would like it because I think Mads is an awesome actor.
No, of course.
And he is in the movie, too.
But
There was no doubting that.
But this
It's
is
the movie itself. The plot, obviously, is... Alright, to basically set it up... you can read this on a plot synopsis, but I'll get specific as to how it happens. Obviously, the plot is... a girl lies... He's a kindergarten teacher, and one of his students lies and says that she was molested by him, more or less.
okay.
And the whole town turns on him.
Wild Things?
Wild Things of Pedophilia? Yeah, kind of. You know, not near as sexy, for sure.
Definitely not sexy.
And with only one case of deception. It's literally just the one lie that makes everything spiral out of control. It's a good concept. I just really didn't like the way the movie played it out. But what happens is, she has a huge crush. This little kindergarten student has a huge crush on Mads. And, she, like, writes him a love letter and all that. And she, like, you know, kisses him on the lips and stuff like that. Well, for start, earlier in a scene, her brothers or whatever were looking at porn. And they showed her a picture of an erect dick. And they basically, you know, showed it to her and then they ran off. Well, they were talking to the girl. The girl was really upset because when she kissed Mads told her, you know, adults don't do that to kids, kids don't do that to adults. And broke her heart. So she got mad. A little bit of These Three is in there too, with Benita Granville, I think was her name. That movie from the 30s.
It was a lot like Lolita to me. Except like a lot younger.
So she starts talking to teachers about his dick. And of course she's talking about the dick that her brother showed her in the porn picture.
Yeah.
But she's talking about that, and then they say, how do you know that? Did he show you his? And she says yes. And it just, the whole thing goes out of control from there. It doesn't help that her dad is like his best friend.
Oh.
But
This sounds good. Why is it so bad?
the whole thing, it's 2 hours, and there's not a lot of suspense. A lot of it is kind of redundancy with these great scenes thrown in. Like the scene where he goes to the store and they won't, you know, let him shop there. And the scene we saw in all the clips, and it's the poster for the movie where they're all in church and everybody's fucking staring at him and he's losing it. And not to mention, the thing that just really threw me over the edge of not liking this movie was the fucking ending. The movie comes to a not so climatic conclusion. But basically everything's, you know, smoothed over.
Okay.
But then there's one thing at the very end, right before the movie ends, and it's just like, why? I mean, like, not every fucking foreign movie's ending has to be ambiguous. Why would you throw that in there? We don't need to be ambiguous all the fucking time. There was no purpose for that moment whatsoever.
I agree.
And I think that ending shot is what most stuck a bad taste in my mouth, so there's that. The next one is the millionth remake of Great Expectations, starring Ray Fiennes and Helena Bonham Carter in the roles everybody knows.
Yeah.
Magwitch and her name's something, the woman, the recluse.
Yeah.
I'd recommend seeing David Leitch's version from 1947. It's one of the best movies ever made. The Ethan Hawke remake by Alfonso Cuarón, not so much. Definitely not Cuarón's finest hour.
I remember not minding that movie so much.
When you've seen the real version, it kind of pales.
I can understand.
This version is okay, but not great. This is Mike Newell's version, not the Mike Newell you know. We're talking Goblet of Fire, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, Mike Newell.
Not my boy Mike Newell.
It's they got Jeremy Irvine to play Pip, the kid from War Horse.
Yeah.
He's not the dreadful actor, and they do the story. You know, they go through the motions, but it doesn't really offer anything new. Helena Bonham Carter is like a really great choice for the character, and Ray Fiennes is great too. But after a while, it just kind of starts to get tired, and it's like it starts to sink in. This version really isn't necessary because they didn't do anything new, except show us a couple of actors doing the parts well. And in the end, some things are executed really ridiculously, like Carter finds his death scenes are like ridiculous and not tragic at all. Just the way they were done. Yeah, if you really... I'm not sure what I would recommend you do if you're gonna redo Great Expectations again, because it's already been modernized, it's already been done, it's a great period movie.
What about if Joss Whedon took a shot at it like he did with Much Ado About Nothing?
That possibly.
Other than that, just don't make any more, because the definitive version has already been made and everything else just pales in comparison.
Of course, I wonder if Joss Whedon likes Dickens as much as he likes Shakespeare.
We'll see.
Next movie I don't like either. Next movie is called All Is Bright. It's a Christmas movie starring Paul Giamatti and Paul Rudd.
Why doesn't that sound? That sounds good.
Sally Hawkins is in it too.
Yes.
Paul Giamatti was in prison. Paul Rudd is really poor and sells Christmas trees, and I think they're brothers.
Why is this not good?
Because... Okay. I'm just going to make this long story short. Giamatti's character is so unlikable that you actually take his ex-wife's side. Do you know what his ex-wife did?
No.
Giamatti's character is so horrible that when he went to prison, his wife told their son, or daughter, I think it's a daughter, yeah. His wife told their daughter that he died. And his character is so unbearable. And Paul Rudd is also doing his likable guy thing to an agonizing extent. So they're both going in different directions at an agonizing degree.
And it doesn't work.
When it tries to be funny, it's not funny. When it tries to be dramatic, it's not effective. You don't care. I just wanted it to end as fast as possible.
How long is it?
Like an hour 45 or something.
For that kind of movie, it sounds like it was too long.
Yeah. Well, that's... Yeah. The next one is an interesting documentary. Kind of. It's kind of like... It's in the same vein as Stories We Tell. It's a documentary, but they used actors and stuff to recreate things.
Okay.
So it's like half documentary, half, actors recreating things. It's called No Place on Earth.
Okay.
And it's like, I guess in a World War II era, there were Jews who would hide out in these big underground
I didn't know
places
how much it
underground.
was to even.
Like they would like make houses like literally out of dirt and shit underground.
Okay.
And just lived in these holes for very long periods of time. And there were like multiple families down there. And it's because you have like descendants of the family and people who were actually there talking to the camera, and you have them as they're talking. You have the scenes being recreated, and it's very fascinating in a way, given the whole concept of that and the fact that this is all from like the perspective of these people and the people that like their descendants. And it's like a clean cut hour 20. It's just. Like I said, I don't know how it's going to do in like documentary categories because I don't know. The same thing as Stories We Tell, I don't know if it'd be eligible because of all the recreating. But there's that.
It's one of those hybrids that really doesn't have a category it fits in.
Pretty much. Next is Closed Circuit.
Ooh, you finally got to see it?
Yep. It's Eric Bana and Rebecca Hall as former lovers.
The trailer looks nice.
There's this bombing with a truck. that goes off. And Eric Bana and Rebecca Hall are basically former lovers who are on the opposite sides of this thing. And you have the Attorney General played by Jim Broadbent, who's always great.
Yes.
And you have Kieran Hines, who's there too. He's always great. This movie is so fucking dumb. I can't even fathom it. It's not unbearable, but like I didn't want to kill myself or anything.
You got close.
But this movie, that's all I can say. This movie is just
That's all you're giving us is it's dumb.
well. There are some. Okay, the ending is interesting because it kind of goes in a direction you don't really expect it to. Like you're kind of like, well, holy shit, that actually happened. Wow.
Yeah.
But I mean, everything leading up to that is just, you know, I just couldn't take it seriously, and it's a lot of implausible things happen and coincidences. And,
Something we probably should have went straight to DVD.
yeah. I just no. It tries to be this big, you know, Kula-esque style conspiracy movie. But it's just, I mean, I don't like the Kula movies or anything, but I think that's how you pronounce his name. But they know who I'm talking about, I'm sure.
Yeah, right on.
But I just, no. It's not a smart movie. It doesn't go, no. Just no.
Okay.
Just no to closed circuit.
Just now.
It should be closed cinema is where they should play it.
Ooh.
The last movie is another foreign favorite this year. It's actually good. This is probably the best movie I've talked about, besides Mobius. Yeah. It's called Neighboring Sounds. It's kind of hard to describe. Basically, it's this Brazilian neighborhood that's got problems, but then they get this security system in, like these security guys that are like constantly on patrol day and night, whenever, and it's just the lives of these people, and you get these really interesting characters. Like, there's really no particular plot. It's just basically how interesting the characters are, and thankfully they made the characters interesting. So there's a lot of fucking screaming babies in here tonight.
What?
There's a lot of screaming babies in here tonight.
I just want to make sure I can.
So, yes. So, but thankfully they made all the characters interesting. And even the security guys, like, get their moments. And there's, you know, some suspenseful scenes, and some funny scenes, and your dramatic scenes. And it all works pretty well. It's a little long, it's 2 hours and 10 minutes, but it's got a pretty good flow. And like I said, it's never boring. And the characters are never not interesting. So yeah. 18 movies, I can recommend a few.
Wow.
I'd say to track down, if you can, Mobius, Stuck in Love, Arthur Newman, CBGB, Scenic Route, and Neighboring Sounds. And No Place on Earth.
Wow, that's actually a lot more recommendations than I thought you would give out, to be totally honest.
But the only full recommendations are Neighboring Sounds and Mobius.
Well, we'll see if I'm going to have to watch any of those if they get nominated for anything.
Sounds like The Hunt and Neighboring Sounds have a chance. They're both on the Grandmaster, Neighboring Sounds, and The Hunt are all on the submission list. But that doesn't mean anything. The submission list has 76 movies this year.
So what are we doing next week? Next week we have Escape Plan.
And Carrie.
We have Carrie and In a World. And Thanks for Sharing.
Yes.
That's all going to be coming next week. And Versus next week. Cryptic Comment.
You said Daylight, didn't you?
Is Daylight. So yeah, the Versus that's going to be tomorrow, the Cryptic Comment is Family. The Cryptic Comment for next week's Versus is Daylight. So, should we give him a third one? Should we give him a third Cryptic Comment for the end of the month? You know what? Our final Cryptic Comment of the month of October is King. Keep that in mind. So we have Family, Daylight, and King. Try to figure out what the Verses are going to be out this week. So AJ, any parting words for this very hodgepodge of a video.
I hope you could fucking hear me.
And
Otherwise,
that's
this was for 45 minutes and for no reason.
and that's all we've got to say about that.